Captain's Log Supplemental.
Hey Jeremy, you know those race cars you're busy building?
Yeah, I do. I
You,
got one
you,
that I'm looking at every day.
you know what I don't see you working on?
You don't see me working on the amazing Sentinel system yet.
That's true. It would take all of 10 minutes for you to have one.
And it's very quick and easy to install.
It is. It is. And we could watch you when we are not at the race with you and see how you're doing. And then we can call you up when you get out of the car and tell you everything you did wrong.
And I love that because so many years I've been driving and not been able to see what I'm doing.
I know.
And now we can.
I know. You know what I'd like to do with the video? My most favorite thing is I take the video and I load it on YouTube and then I send it to my coach and say, look at 26 minutes and 17 seconds. Look at this one lap and tell me what I can do better. And every single time, you know what they say?
Everything.
Exactly. Precisely. So with the Sentinel system, you get instantaneous feedback plus useful feedback that unfortunately is accurate for my driving.
I think it's accurate for all of our driving.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's probably true. Yep. But you need to get one in your car, sir.
Yes, I do. And with the discount code that you're going to tell everybody, they can save 10% on this awesome system.
Yep. Trouble free. I haven't had an issue getting video every time we've gone out with the Sentinel. It's always worked. Can't say the same for some of the other systems we've tried. So I don't know. It's on the podcast notes down there. Don't do it while you're driving, though. We like to have our listeners live. It's good.
From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher, and their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher, and our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. Their mission: to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training Podcast. I'm going to be the host for this episode. My name is Bill. Who else is hosting?
I'm Vicki.
Miss Vicki, we have a race season kicking off soon. And we have one of our faves, one of the guys we lured into pit race with a car that didn't work. Did I ever tell you? Oh, I can't tell you why the car didn't work until I introduce you. So shh, don't tell anybody. He has competed in many things. I believe he is national champion for ST4, 5, something. Good. I know the car. I'm not good at these division things. He raced at Grid Life. He has stupidly been on this podcast multiple times, and he, like me, has greatly outkicked his coverage by his beautiful bride. Welcome back to the podcast, Nick Barbato.
Thank you, Bill and Miss Vicki. Stoked to be here. Long overdue.
So did I ever tell you what broke on the car?
I think you did. What did we confirm? It was a main bearing spun.
It was, well,
Okay.
we took out the top and the bottom, and bearings were the root
Everywhere.
cause was the oil pump died. And before they write in and say, "Oh, did you safety wire?" The nut was safety wired. Everything was good. Garage Heroes and Training at gmail.com. So Nick, you knowing these cars and us wishing we did, is there a way to tell when your oil pump is going to die? Like, should we be looking for something, or is it just kind of racing happens?
Man, I've never experienced an oil pump failure because I actually had
Good
on
cars.
a couple of
Yeah, I
my
get it. I
other
get it.
engines. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No. I actually had like the nut tack welded on. That's what I
Oh,
did
you
instead of safety
belt and
wire.
suspenders there. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
It's probably one of those things where if it happens, there's nothing that's going to warn you. It's
Yeah.
probably going to go immediately, and you're going to lose oil pressure. And with that type of just, it's not like even it's a gradual oil pressure loss. It is a immediate, abrupt zero oil pressure loss.
Hmm.
So, unless maybe the engine is like idling and you see an alarm, there's nothing you can do to save that
And
motor.
we
So
both know when you're on the track, the engine is not at idle.
it was not an idle.
Job well done.
But I mean, is it something that we have done? Is it a
No,
worn
just
out thing?
just
Is it just a
we don't.
random thing that
The
happens?
car had 120, 30,000 miles on it before we got it, or 180,000 miles. I don't even remember
Yeah.
anymore. Now it's got 60 from a nice E46 330 convertible, blah, blah, blah.
And what have you done to secure a rotation of that shaft? Were you a good boy and bought that oblong shaft VAC Motorsports kit?
Oh, that's the first I heard about it.
I would
I
recommend that if they make it for that motor. That's what I did on my current S52.
Gonna talk.
I will go with whatever Hugh told me to do is what I did.
If you recommended it, I'm sure it's good. Hugh knows what he's doing.
Couple,
They may
couple,
not make it for your motor,
maybe.
so
I don't know.
yeah,
I, I
that's
just
probably
I
the
just
case.
know anything. But anyway, so our car should be ready early in the season, hopefully, beginning of April,
Woo.
end of March, somewhere in there. But your car, when last we saw, was having a good showing
Mm.
at Lime Rock, I believe was the last one of last year.
I actually did run it at pit after that, but yes, yes.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
So we like to go over what we do in the off season to prepare for the season in three different ways. You've got the car, you've got your driver and your racing, and then you've got the paddock. So I think the shortest discussion is going to be your paddock. Any paddock upgrades coming for the season? Anything that you've come to? What I really.
Bill, I just lost the audio on you there.
I did too.
I know my microphone and I are not getting along.
Oh, you're
So
back.
anything.
Uh-oh.
Now you're gone. Thank God we have editing software for this.
How about now?
Still nothing.
No.
Yes.
Yes. No. Maybe.
Yes.
Sort of.
Now I can hear.
Okay. Very well. All right. So paddock. Anything new? Anything exciting?
Um, Nothing other than, making sure we have good, clean hotel rooms with hot continental breakfast for Mrs. Barbato Speed Factory. That was definitely a key thing. She will be in attendance at all of the events this year, which is
Upgrade.
a absolute upgrade. Um, we did add another nice, better Easy Up tent. So we're looking forward to the double Easy Up process. And made some general trailer upgrades. Actually, it's cool because I got a nice set of baller easy up ramps to basically yeah, they're they're not cheap, but they're helpful, so I can get the car on the trailer without removing the bumper. Retrofitted the front bumper hooks a little bit differently so I can just tie right down to those instead of going through the reels. So yeah, just kind of made all that stuff easier for this year. Um, Next year is definitely going to be a move to an enclosed trailer. I decided I'm going to finish out this year still, going hardcore old school with the open trailer, but I think we're going to go to an enclosed for next season. But yeah, no, other than that, nothing too much improvement in the paddock. Other than
Okay. All right.
I'm going
So
to wife me at my side for all events.
so if you win the lottery, the stacker, but not quite this season. Okay.
That's
All right.
right.
That's
That's
fine.
right.
That's fine. All right. So what we are at two different points on the path, shall we say? And our ability to do driver mods and race learning over the winter season is, uh, let's just say there's a lot more to be gained from that than you. But is there something that you worked on over the season? Have you got your iRacing doctorate? Have you, gone and somehow become bonded with Ross Bentley? Is there anything you got planned here?
No, the off season, I did my usual sim racing training. I do like what Max Verstappen does. He's always competing against absolute killers in sim racing to keep his skills sharp. So I compete against some of the most vicious killers in Europe and a couple of Assetto Corsa lobbies that I run with. Continue to test my skills and vet them there. Um, I've been doing a lot of coaching, so actually that's a good way to continue to learn because
Hmm.
I'm always whether it's like on a live stream like this with a student, let's say, or doing the video analysis reviews where I'm breaking down every corner bit by bit, input by input, the littlest level detail. So that helps to keep you sharp, just like anything, whether you're
Right.
a college professor or whatever, right? It's you're honing your skills and sort of keeping your skills sharp that way. But yeah, no, that's really it. And then just for each track, like I always do, I always try to put in a couple hundred laps on a similar to E36. It's actually an E30 race car model than a Assetto Corsa. And I train on the tracks that I'm gonna drive at. But yeah, just to keep the skill sharp, of course, always self-critiquing. I have a whole post-it note list of things and a couple of Microsoft Word documents that I remind myself of all the little things to practice and to stay sharp with. Never let anything last because the second you lax is the second you fall behind. So just trying to stay at peak performance.
So,
Hmm.
any chance you've raced fellow podcast guest DJ Alessandrini?
No, no, he's probably on iRacing. I
Yeah.
do very little iRacing. Yeah, I don't even have it installed on my current sim rig. I just do Assetto Corsa because I just like to do the track knowledge now, and
Hmm.
it's hard to fit into a more organized series in iRacing, just especially with all the time I put into working on the car, which was by far the biggest factor for this year to try to make it better for grid life.
Right.
And on top of a full-time job, just you have to pick your time. Also, you have to make time for Mrs. Barbato. So,
That's a good plan. Yeah.
watering
Yeah.
the garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I actually I like Assetto Corsa because the way that they do things in the let's say that lobbies that I run in is they also don't like name the configuration ahead of time, so it prevents folks from spending 20 hours practicing doing 1,000 laps before the race. So you're kind of given a few hours to practice, so it levels the playing field because when you're going down to every last thousandths of a second. I mean, for example, I'll compete in time trials and, I'll somewhere between P1 and P10 amongst, 10,000 drivers. And, you're separated by like 0.009 from P1 to P10. And like, you're not getting there without putting in at least like 40 or 50 hours in a certain combination, they say a car and track. So, I prefer to keep it less sweaty. So the track knowledge and the extra time you get from practicing one combination, right? You mitigate that to sort of keep it more and more to real life, right? Where you have like less practice to train. So that's like I think a good part of the Assetto Corsa stuff. You can kind of get that environment more easily than iRacing.
You know what I'm taking from that, Miss Vicky?
What's
Yeah,
that?
No off season means no rust to shake off.
that's right.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause right
That's
now, right now, I'm feeling a whole lot like some metal oxides. Ugh.
right.
Well,
Mm,
hopefully I'll be able to make the pit race because that's so much fun. I can't wait to get there. That should be great. Maybe, hopefully,
yeah.
we'll see. Anyway, so you kind of hinted at it. We knew the answer before we asked the question. The car, as we saw it last year, was still more a NASA ST5 car than it was a GridLife GLTC car. And I believe you had said you were thinking about looking at GridLife being kind of the focus for this season. So where'd we end up?
Yeah, so no, that was
Hmm.
that was the call. I was a good boy and paid another $70 for my GLTC membership to get early access to buy the gold pass to secure my 3 or 4 events.
Hmm.
Um, I did the gold pass and I bought 4 events. So that's going to be the primary focus. I may do a NASA event at the end of the year. I'm going to be doing some coaching gigs at NASA events for my
Cool.
guys here, which I'm stoked about as well. But yeah, so I'm signed up right now for the first race at CMP, and then it'll
Hmm.
be Mid Ohio, Lime Rock, and pit race. So
Are they
yeah,
doing Watkins this year or no?
I don't believe they're doing walk-ins this year. No.
Okay. All right. Because I was going to say those were the close proximity ones for you because, Laguna Seca is not terribly close to Connecticut. I don't know if you've looked at
No.
a map recently. It's not close.
No, it'd be exciting to go out there, but no, yeah, not in
Yeah.
the car.
Would be
Yeah.
would be quite fun. So is the car, let's see, if you look at uh I think last year you were saying it was somewhere around 80% maybe somewhere for GLTC. What's the goal for the season coming up?
To get it at least 90% of the way there and do all of the low-hanging fruit things. And
Hmm.
so, all of that, let's say, has been completed for the most part, subject to some fine-tuning and tweaking of things. But if you'd like, I can kind of go over the high-level list of those. Want
Well,
to
I
hear?
don't want to give away a secret sauce and and
Okay,
and
okay.
the expertise that you've earned, but let's go with Grid Life tends to tweak year to year to kind of keep the balance as best they can. So is there
Mhm.
anything changed for this upcoming season?
There is and pretty significant rules changes. As was expected, they did a pretty significant nerf to the higher horsepower cars and higher weight cars, which over the past few years have proven to be, let's say, like the combo, certainly the easiest combo to make work, to be towards the front.
So it's not
Uh,
going to be Grid Life Touring Corvette series.
certainly not as much,
Okay.
although the initial impressions were maybe they even could have done more. We'll see how the results play out with that
In the
because there's
future.
future future because
Mhm.
there's so many things to the Corvette beyond what a normal what a normal touring car is that I'm sure most users
Hmm.
know. It's the cross-sectional area, it's the suspension, it's the CG, it's the flat torque curve, all that. It's the it's the
Se
flat underbody of the car.
severely understressed everything.
Severely under stress, everything. You almost don't need to shift anywhere. The raceability of the car, compared to like the 1 lap pace, right? How it makes time.
Hmm.
Uh, so especially for the multi-class racing, it's there's no question it's been the dominate car and the car of choice, which is why it's been so popular. But yeah, so on top of the higher weight, higher power, bigger tire cars, they added a Corvette specific nerf of 2%. So for those listening, that's depending on the weight, between 50 to 75 pounds effective, which you can take in power or weight or other modifications. But so
So
yeah,
2% of the power to weight ratio, is that what they did?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, there's a comp form that they use where you pick the modifiers, but yeah, it's so the short answer is yes, it's as a percentage of the target power to weight, which I think standard is like 12.5 to 1 or something like that, which is
Hmm.
actually weight to power ratio. But yeah.
So specifically for your car, did the exchange rate go up or down? Did you get like Deutschmarks to dollar discount? Anything?
That's actually a really good way to put it. So, actually, my car. So they changed the way they do the rules, and not to confuse the listeners, but to keep it simple, they basically divided it up into more or less 3 categories of power. And so my car is in the 200 to 230 horsepower range, and basically the weight to power bonuses and modifiers basically for cars in that range did not change. So
Okay.
my car is basically unchanged in performance in terms of weight to power ratio and other mods from last year to this year. So the higher weight more powerful, bigger tire cars, and the vets were slowed down relative to my car, which is a welcome change.
Did they do anything to help out the Miata friends that are struggling back there?
They did. So that was the most significant change was to recap, heavier, more powerful, slowed down, middle cars not changed, lighter, lower horsepower cars got a buff, as they say, to use a gaming language. They received an effective 5% increase. Yeah. You're a
Five
gamer, I
percent?
think. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, which is a massive change, and in that range, let's say, just as just to speak in a rough order of magnitude, is something like the equivalent of taking off 125 pounds off the car, which
That's a big
if
deal
you
for that.
that's a big deal for those weight cars, yeah, for sure. So
That's like changing from me driving to you driving.
yeah,
Wow.
it's a lot.
That's a lot of carbon fiber or or turkey dinner, whichever one, whatever it
Yeah.
is. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So your expectation going into this season, you're going to do the 4 races, which I think is the minimum to qualify for the season.
It is, yeah, because you do. So there's, of course, 4 sprint races per weekend for a total of 16 races. If you do 4 weekends and you need 14, they take your highest points finishes for 14 races. So
Okay.
if you do the 4 weekends, basically you're allowed two drops for your worst performances.
Okay. And that's not a lot of margin for that series at all.
Not a lot of margin, no, but you have to take it where you can get it,
Yeah. Is
on the budget.
is pit race one of your 4? It's tough
Yes,
to
it is.
listen and okay. All right. So that's
Yeah,
the championship again this season?
that's a championship final. Yes.
Coming up this season? That hasn't
Coming up
started yet, obviously. I mean, no
this
way.
season.
Okay, so let's see. You got 4 races. You got that, and you got a little bit of upswing on the light cars. So that'll be the Miatas and the Civics and the little guys. Mid pack kind of stayed flat, and the big boy cars that have been dominant for the past 2 years got a little bit of a nerf. Okay,
Yes, sir. Yes,
all
sir.
right, all right, cool. So how much of your significant car work do you wish to get into?
I actually don't mind going into all of it.
Well,
Because
I have a podcast that has a lot of tape in this machine right now. We can go as long as you want. And listen, Miss Vicki got her pad out.
Yeah.
She's ready to
yeah.
build the car as you tell her to.
Oh my gosh.
As always.
I need to go find my pen.
Let me know when you're
She'll
ready.
just commit it to memory. Well, you know what we'll do? We don't let her get a pen, and she'll actually listen to this one. That'll be the first
There
time
you
in
go.
quite a while
Okay.
she listens to an episode. So, okay.
Okay.
So, and once again, we don't care if you listen, just download. Anyway, just kidding, people. All right, Nick, what did you do? You spent the whole winter. You were quite the busy man. We talked a few times. We made fun of mostly me, and you were pretty busy under that little white car you got there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, there is a lot to cover, but I'll stick more to the performance-oriented things
Mm-hmm.
instead of the reliability things, which include things like changing out a bunch of sensors, doing wiring checks, replacing bushings, replacing some wear item components that needed replacement, all that stuff, right? So that stuff takes a lot of time, but just for the performance-oriented stuff, I'm excited about some of the improvements I made, which are, let's say, in the suspension category
Mm-hmm.
and the let's say the power tune optimized for the GLTC rule set changes.
Yeah.
So really those two big things, as well as braking. So the first thing was I did what's called the Bimmer World Roll Center Correction Kit, which is, to put simply, go ahead.
Just to
Andy.
make sure, people may not have heard your first 2 episodes. E36 M3 is your
Yes,
car.
correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes, yes.
I'm not sure we said that explicitly. I just want to make sure, hey, we're not talking about a Jetta. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the car is a stock chassis, no front half, back half, tube frame crap. It's
a real
basically
car.
still, yes, yeah, it's a steel quarters, door slamming, registered and insured in the state of Connecticut. It's actually still legal for SD5, which is cool, which I wanted to do. But just some optimization within the rule set. So a 1997 BMW M3 with still all stock suspension arms, aside from adjustable rear lower control arms, a camber plate in the front, all just off the shelf stuff, all the stuff you can buy online.
Mhm.
But one of the big changes for this year, which I hadn't done because it was a points, well, actually, I actually found out it may not be, or at least is legal, but with a minor penalty. But that's a different discussion. I did the Bimerold roll center correction kit, which for this car, you take the stock spindle, right? So the front hub where the wheel bearing is, where the shock and the brake attaches, and you weld on a cone to the lower control arm ball joint attachment point. And what it does is lower the suspension arm attachment relative to the spindle, which does what? It raises your roll center. That's what you want. Better suspension geometry, the way forces are transmitted through the suspension is improved. For my car in particular, what it does is it lowers, and I encourage folks to do research online, it lowers the control arm below the horizontal. Why is that important? Because, and I say this at static ride height, because when it compresses, what's going to happen? That arm is going to get longer, and you're going to actually now extend out the bottom of the tire, right? So you're going to gain camber. Before, because of the stock suspension, before the roll center correction kit, the car, because the stock suspension isn't designed to be that low, would actually lose camber, right? So not only is it a McPherson single arm sort of shitty front suspension design,
But it's cheap,
also,
so that's important.
yeah, exactly. It was also losing camber beyond what it, as opposed to stock configuration where it would actually gain some camber. So now we have restored the front camber curve. So that's a big deal. Why is that important? What benefit would that take? Well, it will allow me to run less static negative camber. Why is that important or helpful? Because by running less static negative camber and restoring a camber gaining camber curve, I actually can get back a lot of braking performance. And the car definitely, one of the car's weakest points in the Grid Life series, which has a lot of cars that have done stuff like this to optimize the suspension geometry, because it's a pretty open rule set, will allow me to get back a significant amount of braking performance while retaining as good or better cornering speed. So really excited about that. And, that's not an easy job. Basically, I removed the spindle. I sent it out to Eric Magnuson out at Mainline Motorsport, who's also a NASA guy. He's also been competing in GLTC. Awesome driver, super sharp setup man. So he actually did the work, did a nice sandblast, did the heat treat, did the weld, did the nice, coating, got it back to me, and we're ready to rock. So that was like the
future podcast guest. He just doesn't know it yet.
He's awesome. Yeah. I love Eric. He's an awesome dude. If he ever listens, man, I love Eric. I've had some awesome battles. He's one of the best drivers I've ever raced against. So yeah, massive respect to Eric Magnuson.
All right. And then would that reduce the tire wear on the inside when you're going straight as well? Or no? Not enough to worry about.
Yeah, if you were driving it on the street 5,000 miles, yes, it would. But on a racetrack, you're doing lots of cornering, so the inside wear is more or less a non-factor. But yes, if this was more of like a dual-purpose street track car, yeah, being able to run less static front camber would definitely help on the tire wear.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, your car is more of a dual-purpose car. It's like race on track, win on track. So that's fine.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right. That's
its purpose. That's its purpose. Whether we get it done or not, that's TBD. But you do what you can. Okay. So we did the magic juju on the lowering of the spindles, which lowers the roll center, which makes it sound like I know what I'm talking about, but all suspension
raises the roll center, actually.
Damn it.
Raises the roll center. It's okay, close. Yeah.
I almost faked. I knew it did something with the roll center. So someday I'll understand that magic black magic that suspension gurus get, but whatever. It's fine. It's a whole bunch of angles. I'm not good at three-dimensional
It's fun
geometry.
things.
It's just there's people who know this. I can look it up. I'll Google it. Anyway, all right. So we did that, and then what else did you do? Because you were quite the busy puppy this winter.
Yes, sir. So I also did a matching VAC Motorsports bump steer kit, which does the same thing. It
Mm-hmm.
lowers the attachment point now for the tie rod instead of the control arm.
Okay.
So it lowers the tie rod about 35 millimeter, and what that is going to do is let's say make more stable the bump steer curve. So
Okay.
it will toe in or toe out less under compression and extension. How does that help you? Sort of anytime you're turning, it makes the transition between the braking and the cornering to throttle phase more stable, a little bit more grip, and can improve braking performance because you're getting less dynamic, in this case of the BMW, less dynamic toe out under brake. More
Okay.
of a subtle thing, but was actually recommended to me in particular by Eric and other guys because actually, when you correct the lower control arm attachment point, it actually magnifies the bump steer curve. So it's actually more important to do it when you do the roll center kit. So yeah, so that was the other big change on the front.
See, I can do bump steer. I can't do roll centers yet. I'm working on it. I'm getting there.
You
As long as
kind
there's
of
no quiz at the end, I'll be good.
there's actually some other options that are I've heard they're equally as effective but less reliable where you don't need to weld on spindles. You can just do basically sandwich plates. There's a shop called MRT Engineering
Hmm.
and I think either I think SPC or SLC. Those kits do the same job as the Bimmerworld kit, but due to their design, let's say they may be less reliable, particularly if you're kind of 10/10 on a racetrack. So, for maybe less intense race cars, could consider those kits. They're easier to install. I think for the
Right.
hardcore racers, you want to stick with the Bimmerworld kit.
Especially when you only have two throwaway races for an entire season. Yes, I believe
Yep.
that would be the way to go, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Did you
So
play Arrow Dude again? Did you change your slide, your groove, your downforce, your drag?
no. Although I am going to tweak that at a forthcoming test. And for me this year, it's really all about Lime Rock Park. I think I have a feeling of how the car is still going to fare against, let's say the pointy end builds.
Hmm.
But I think at Lime Rock it's got something special. So the aero package will be optimized for Lime Rock to the best of my ability. Um, Although I already did do wing changing and some aero tweaks last year. But yeah,
Right.
so yeah. The short answer is nothing major on the aero front, but some small tweaks.
Anything else that's on the winter agenda that we've either done or going to do before that first race that's coming up?
Yes. So I have done a brake upgrade, which for me, and let's say
Ooh.
yeah, I'm proud to report I'm still utilizing the stock four-channel E36 M3 ABS system. However, I have gone to a brand new OEM style with upgraded brass caliper guide pin bushing, fr front caliper. I actually removed the rears and sent those out to get refurbished and rebuilt, resealed. New piston seals out at Bimmer World. So all new, freshened up brakes, which they definitely needed it. But yeah, still on the stock calipers, but actually went to a different brake compound this year. Also in an effort to get more braking performance. So I was running the Hawk DTC 60 last year. Fantastic brake. So, not poo-pooing on the Hawks. But PFC, Performance Friction Compound or Composites, I believe. They have through Bimmer World a compound that they tested specifically for the stock E36 and E46 cars with stock calipers and stock ABS systems. The combo helps to improve rear brake bias, which the
Mm-hmm.
car definitely needs. So you basically just take the benefit of increased stopping power if you can send some more rear bias to the
Right.
car. And so I went to those compounds. They also take care of the rotor a bit better, and particularly when you're really standing on the brakes for a sprint race, the Hawks are pretty aggressive on the rotor.
Yeah,
Awesome
they are.
brake, but yeah, you need to basically be swapping out rotors every time you put in new pads because they get warped.
Wow,
Yeah,
really?
Yeah,
yeah, they
that's
do. Yeah, they do.
that's one of the reasons we don't use it for endurance racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that would be pricey.
Yes.
That would
Yes.
for endurance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of the two biggest single off season improvements. Did some aero improvements, added some spats, just a mild thing there. And a couple of other little tweaks, which I could, talk about, but aren't particularly huge. And then the next thing, of course, is the power tune, which I can talk about. But yeah, if you have any other questions on some things, let me know as far as the suspension and brakes go.
I'm not smart enough to ask her any more questions. Vicky,
Hmm.
got any?
Do you want to go on to the traditional?
No, not yet. We're gonna get there.
Not yet.
Uh,
No, I just so what is that set called again for the brakes?
It is the PFC 332 combination. So it's available on their website and on the Bimmer
From
World
B
website.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. If you just search, if you do like a Google search PFC 331 332, it'll probably the first result will be a site like BW or other sites that sell that pad combination. They are awesome for E36 and E46. Basically, any chassis that could accept that compound, I would highly recommend, particularly if you're on a stock ABS, stock caliper setup.
Is Bimmer World pretty much one of your major suppliers for your car?
They are. They are. I've developed an awesome relationship with them. Worked out something informal actually for this year. Let's say they're coming on as a partner. Let's say.
nice.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, yeah. AJ Allen out there. He's my main guy. He's awesome. Him and the rest of the staff. I've gotten to know James Clay, the owner, as well. Awesome. Just they are incredibly passionate and knowledgeable about BMWs. They're heavily involved in everything from pro to amateur club racing. And so yeah, they also have helped me out with a couple of setup decisions based on their experience with some parts. And I hope I don't sound like a commercial, but I sort of came to discover even before I knew them that if they're selling a part on their website, it's because it's good. They
Yeah.
they may not always have the cheapest prices, although they do have very good prices usually, but they don't sell junk. And they don't sell parts that are junk for a reason. And they will also even give recommendations on, let's say, if you need like OEM replacement parts, whether it's hardware or a sensor, they will tell you if you don't need to waste money buying the original genuine BMW part because there are a lot of really good, much lower cost, but just as high quality OEM suppliers. Something like an O2 sensor or a NOx sensor, you can save like $150 off a sensor, and
Right.
they will tell you what's good. So yeah, they have
Hmm.
great trust, great integrity, great technical expertise. They're awesome. So yeah, highly recommend them. And again,
They know their builds.
they do. And man, they if you haven't seen that ridiculous full tilt,
Yeah.
that E36 bodied super aero, I think they did like a V8 turbo swap. I mean, I think James Clay either built it just as a one-off or to compete in like a GT series. That thing is phenomenal, and they have done some phenomenal builds. So yeah, they're super passionate, super knowledgeable, and they probably know BMWs as good as any other, aftermarket BMW shop probably in the world, I would say at this point. So yeah.
Yeah, we've had Phil on twice.
Okay.
We haven't gotten James on yet, but
Okay.
he doesn't know it. Future podcast guest.
Okay.
We'll get him. So let's see. Anything else going into the season that it should be notable that we'll get rolling?
Yeah, I am going to be testing two different tire sizes because a rule change for this year is if you run undersized with your tire for your weight range, you get 1% back on the weight to power calculation.
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
going to test. Yeah, is what's faster, 255 or 265? And the
Uh-huh.
answer may not be as obvious as you think.
Oh,
So
oh,
yeah, we're
can't wait
gonna
to hear
science.
some of that once the first race gets done.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we're gonna science the crap out of that.
And some testing.
Um,
Yep.
yep. And then the last thing is improved flat, let's say not flat, because flat tuning carries a penalty, but flattening out the power band. And so I have plans to go to the dyno, go to a larger, meaning higher flowing restrictor plate, and then detune on the top end. So it's not flat, so it's still not penalized, but flattened out to basically gain a little bit more power on the top end, something like, between 5 and 8 horsepower, and another maybe 5 to 10 in the mid range, which is very, very helpful, especially racing the higher horsepower cars, which make like, almost flat power anywhere they want. So then that's probably, I would say, actually, here's some advice for anyone that may be new or considering the series is your ability to flatten out the power band is probably it's among the top three most single critical things to being successful in the series is optimizing your power tune to try to flatten it out as much as you can and work within the rule set to make that happen because that's a not insignificant amount of time. So yeah, over.
Indeed. Well, we can't wait to see how that first race goes, and I wonder how the testing goes, and we'll probably bother you about that in the future. So I want to thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me and super stoked to get the season started.
I know that's going to be awesome. Can't wait to watch. I'm going to be stalking from the confines of my house because I'm not going to make it down to CMP because we're supposed to be at the pit race the exact same weekend, but we'll be watching on YouTube. It'll be great.
Hell yeah. No, thank you. I appreciate the love and support.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Thank you, sir.
Cheers.
Welcome
My
to the
good
Garage
actor.
Heroes
I'm feeling like almost fake
podcast.
newsy, like it's like, we're like turning into the Garage Heroes fake news network. Holy.
No, no, nope. We don't fake our news. We just make that we know what we're talking about.
Okay, okay.
There's a difference there. So, Nick, hot off the beginning of the season, I can't wait to hear what happens because I got sick at pit race and wasn't able to race, so I got to watch the entire weekend's festivities. And
Oh man. Oh
I
goodness.
was I was stalking you as all true internet stalkers do on the internet, and got to watch and had some highs and some lows and some jumped out of my sofa. Which if you saw the way I was looking this weekend for me to jump, that's pretty high. Well,
Oh,
not the
hell
jump. The
yeah.
jump wasn't high, but getting me to actually move. Anyway, so Nick, how is Grid Life CMP? Have you been there before?
I well, now I have, but
Now
no.
you have. I mean, obviously, we're in the future. I mean, we're in
Yeah.
the present. I mean,
in, in,
yeah.
in the present now, right? Right.
Yes, right now. I mean,
Yeah, no, no, I had not been there. It was an awesome track. I loved the area. It was a nice drive down there,
mhm.
probably 15 hours with the wifey. Yes, awesome people. I loved the track. Of course, I trained in the sim. I had a couple hundred laps in there. I was actually, I was doing laps there in like end of January, uh, as well as studying videos from some of the best there. There's a guy I'll mention. A shout out to John Coslow. He's
Mhm.
one of the beasts of the Mid-Atlantic region, NASA TT5 and ST5. He did a smoking lap there for the lap record. I watched his video. He did a little bit of racing in GLTC as well last year. So yeah, super fast driver. So yeah, between studying his video, again, it should be stated he's also in an E36 M3. That's why I watched that
It's
video.
always helpful, I guess.
Oh yeah. So yeah, between that and the sim training, I was ready. The track itself was very technical. Actually, it's funny because a bunch of guys asked me what they thought of it, and a lot of guys did not like it. I love it because it's a super difficult track to get right. very technical driving. You have to have a car that's set up to take curbs well,
Hmm.
because they are high and aggressive curbs. My car isn't so great at that, to be honest with you, because the shocks I still run are non-remote, non-fancy. They're well built, but there's something to be had there with let's say a more hardcore race shock to handle bumps. But we still did okay. And you need to have courage. And have a setup that works well because it's a mix of high speed bumps and very technical low speed cornering. And so, if you're more of like a ham-fisted driver, you're going to overdrive the car, get offline. Same deal. There was offline marbles, so you really had to be on your game. I loved the challenge. One of the more challenging tracks I've actually I've ever driven, and had a blast. Particularly in the first couple of practice sessions, sort of taking risks and making mistakes and finding my way. Even put almost four off, let's say, in turn 5 in practice, just trying to find the limit. To see how far I could launch off the curb before I launched off the track, and I found out how far I could launch.
To know the limit, you must go past the limit. Yeah. If I remember right, I believe, and this is not 100%, but I believe the track designer is the same one at CMP as was at NJMP.
Okay. I
And
could see some inspiration there actually, because the curb design actually kind of reminds me
hmm
of the curbs at NJMP. They've nerfed some of the curb a little bit
hmm
at NJMP in recent years, but I'm not surprised to hear that. And some fun elevation change. Yeah, just an awesome track. I'll be honest with you, I had never really even had CMP on my radar until this year, and I'm kind of disappointed. I never knew how great it was. It's an awesome track. I think underrated in terms of how fun it is.
it's not that. I mean, it's not close, but it's not that far. And after they repaved it, the old surface used to be pretty tough on tires,
Mhm.
so it seems to have mellowed a bit. The kink is
Hmm.
still the kink, though. So
It's still the kink, and yeah, the surface was not particularly bad on tires. You definitely had to grab them and hold your breath, if you know what I'm saying, before
hmm
you made the kink. It took me a little bit of courage to let's say a good 5 or 6 laps, which for me that's a lot to get the courage to take it flat. But
hmm
as long as you have the car placement ready and your setup's working well, you can take it flat.
Yep. Yep.
That's an awesome corner though.
It is not too wide though. It's not fun.
No, no.
Speaking from endurance racing life, and I was like, oh, this is spicy.
It's
All
spicy.
right, so you had your E36 M3. We talked earlier on the last time we were on the podcast that we talked earlier about the car and everything that you've done to it. So I think Grid Life did its usual, well, at least for this year, its usual, a couple practice laps. I mean, practice sessions, and then you went into qualifying first, right?
That's correct. Yeah, there were 2 practices and then a qualifying on Friday. Friday, yes, Friday.
hmm And then qualifying is basically a whole bunch of bees out on the track, and you guys figure it out. And uh, best, fastest lap, however you get there, you win, and you can't go off on your fastest lap or the one before and the one after, if I remember right.
Yeah. So actually, so there's two different things, right? So there's qualifying. So there's a qualifying session that is just an open, it's like a 30-minute session.
Right.
Your best lap of the 30 minutes sets your qualifying position for race one. But then there is a second mini qualifying called the top 10 shootout.
Oh, that's later. We'll get there later.
That's
Get there
later. Yeah,
later.
yeah,
Get there
yeah, yeah.
later.
Okay, later. All right, all
I
right, all right.
watched. I watched on YouTube, man. I had
Okay,
nothing else to do. I had fevers, I had sweats, I had chills, and I watched Grid Life. That was my weekend, and it wasn't because you guys were looking that good, you know. Anyway,
got
Totally missed the race.
totally missed. First
Uh,
ever missed race. Hated it, but it was best. Something about being, flu, fever, weak, getting in a race car doesn't sound good. Plus, I don't want to get any of my friends sick. But anyway,
Well, even driving that distance, that's a
well,
long distance.
it's not. I just drove across the country. 4 hours is nothing. All right. So how did qualifying go for you, sir?
It went very good. I was very happy with the lap I did. I think it was like a low 43 or something,
Hmm.
maybe a 43.1. That was good enough for P6.
Yep.
Very happy with that. The only cars in front of me, which you, as we talk, will be a theme here. The only power cars in front of me were V8 powered or Corvettes,
And one
or
other one.
or that flying Civic.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I was happy. I felt I got the realistic maximum in that session. I did end up making some setup changes and improvements, which led to more pace, which you'll hear about later.
Yep.
But no, I was happy, very happy.
So how does it feel to have you in P6 and your doppelganger in P1? Is that comforting to you, or is that, because there's still people out there who question whether you two are the same because, you right next to each other.
Man, it's funny because I was thinking of you and Miss Vicki the whole weekend on this topic because I think I stopped. I think I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people
Uh-huh.
between Grid Life staff, drivers, and folks in the paddock
Hmm.
that made a comment like, "Hey, you look like Eric
Uh-huh.
Gazio." Said that. I can't confirm that. Peter Zhang, very quick driver.
Uh-huh.
He said I am better looking. Oh no, more handsome than Eric. So
Okay. All right.
I think it's Nick 1, Eric 0.
Okay. All
Good
right.
job with Eric. I love you,
Well,
Eric.
we'll
Uh,
keep track of that. We'll have a rolling scoreboard for the rest of the season and see how we do on that. So, all right.
Eric is taller than me though, so
Is he?
he is.
Maybe
He
a
is.
little bit, yeah. Well, that's because
I
he's
can't
so
compete
far
on the
back in
height.
that car.
That's right. That's
He's,
right.
he's
That's
got to be
right.
long enough to reach those pedals that are way out there. So
Right. That's
that's
right.
okay. All right. So P6, not a bad starting position for the home game players. Grid Life GLTC is uh shark infested water with aliens. So six out of that pool, you're doing some
A-
work.
Absolutely. And on the aliens slash masters killers. I mean, I really want to give a shout out to honestly like the top 15 there. I
At
mean,
least. Yeah.
yeah, fantastic drivers. It's a shark fest. I love it. It's awesome. So yeah, big
E-
big big kudos and respect to anyone that was even
And
in the top 15.
yeah, and even the ones that may or may not have performed in the top 15, some of that to a lot of that is the car is not to full GLTC trim. So, they're
Correct.
it's not that they're a bunch of slackers. It's just sometimes, you don't have the weapon.
Absolutely, absolutely, and and I actually was thinking about that, talking about it with my buddies, to go in both directions, to go from GLTC to NASA or NASA to GLTC, you have to make some significant changes, and especially with how competitive it is at the front. If you're not optimizing the car to the class, you're gonna get smoked.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to the quality of the drivers in both series. In this case, GLTC in particular.
Yeah. And you need both. You need the car and the driver and the racecraft. And
You
I don't know why I said both for three things, but whatever.
do.
That's all right. I'll go back in time. I'll be like preseason, so it'll be fun. All right. So we made it through qualifying. No harm, no foul. I think there might have been two cars that broke. I think Eric may have had a braking issue in qualifying, if I remember right. But he figured it out
Did.
to uh
Yeah.
to give away the future. But so first race, starting P6. How'd that race go?
Went well. I started sixth, finished sixth. It was a strong run. I was challenging for fifth place
Hmm.
the entire race. And actually, I love to give credit where credit is due. I believe his name is Christian Aranja.
Hmm.
Um, he finished fifth. He qualified second, his first ever race with GLTC in a well prepped C5 Corvette.
Yellow, if I
Uh,
remember right.
Yellow, yep. He did a great job. So massive respect to him. He had a turn 1, 2, lap one incident. Came into contact with some guys. I got a bird's eye bird's eye view of that. I don't know who was at fault, whatever happened, but I think that damaged his car a little bit. But he got back on the pace, and he was hitting his marks and flying. So yeah, I was challenging him. Did not have the pace to overtake. and settled for a very hard fought and solid race P6.
But you tried your bestest, right?
I tried my best. Give it my best shot. Yep.
Well, passing is not. I mean, it's not F1, but passing in GLTC is earned and not given. So
That's true. And to be honest with you, I really wasn't faster than Christian. We were roughly the same pace, lap time on track. It's the same story. The way the different cars race. So I was eating them up on the brakes and that corner entry. Because my car weighs probably 500 pounds at least less than his does. But he's getting good exits with those big tires, and he's walking me on the straight. So you're rubber banding, as they say, the entire track. And so the only way I really would have had a chance is if he made like a major mistake and I got by him on the brakes. So
Right.
and he did not make any major mistakes. So
all right. So race 2, I think they changed it this year. I think your starting order is determined by your finishing order this time.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So
Yep.
starting out 6, I believe
Starting
there was
out
a
6.
little bit of a shindig in race 1, if I remember right. Something
There-
didn't go quite according to plan.
Some didn't go quite to plan. I think Christian had a mechanical issue or contact. I forget, but he ended up dropping out. So I gained that position. I actually have to go back and watch the video. So something happened, but I got by him. And then I was actually really stoked because I was able to hang on right to the back in the slipstream of a nice battle between Matan Rosenberg and Eric Magnussen for P3 and 4. So yeah, I had a nice strong run there. And finished a couple seconds, if that, I think it was like 1.6 or something like that behind them, and I think set a faster lap than one or both of them in the second race. So yeah, so that was good.
I believe the only complaints about your weekend to this point from the people doing the coverage was that they couldn't tell your car apart from the other white BMW. So they put a request out for one or both of you to do something besides having your numbers are yellow and his aren't. That's about it.
Yeah, I am going to actually, not to ruin the surprise, but I'm going to do a nice little livery actually for Mid Ohio.
Ooh.
It's going to look cool, so I'm excited to.
You woke Miss Vicki up. She may be coming
I
out there to
know.
help.
So your
I'll
car
send you a little
is
teaser. I'll send you a little.
so your car is currently white with lots of stickers.
White with lots of stickers. Yeah, exactly.
And yellow numbers. And that was the only way you could tell those two apart.
Yes, and some slightly modified Pikachus on the rear wing end plates.
Well, that's tough to tell from a drone from 200 yards away, 100 bajillion miles an hour that you drive at. So okay. All right. So race 2 in the books, I believe 5th. Is that correct?
Race 2 in the books, P5, yes.
And then the next race is starting order by lap time?
No, the third race in between race 2 and race 3 was the qualifying shootout.
Oh, I have that in the wrong spot. Sorry. All right.
Yeah,
I was sick. My notes are bad. All right. So shootout, top 10 shootout. Is it this year?
Top 10 shootout. So what they do,
I believe 5th.
Yeah, what is that?
I believe 5th is in the top 10.
5th is in the top 10, although what they actually did was, which was a change from prior years, is instead of taking just the top 10 finishers, what they did was they took the top 10 lap times.
Oh, fastest. Okay.
Yeah. And then they put those into a shootout, basically like a second high pressure qualifying to set the grid for race 3.
So did you make the shootout last year?
I did not make a shootout last year.
You were like 11th, I think, if I remember right.
I was close. I was close a couple times, but
right. So shootout for the home game players is basically a time attack demonstration that sets the grid for the top 10 for the next race. Is that right?
For the next race, that's true. And it's particularly exciting because for actually A number of reasons. You'll see it ended up being the highlight of my weekend, but I love the format. I was very excited about the format because it's very high pressure. So you are followed by the camera crew for the whole lap with the announcers watching you. You have a 30-second countdown that you're given by one of the support race directors, and then a 10-second 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, hot shot right from the pit lane exit. And you have a only one out lap you have to do at very high speed, because if you interrupt the driver behind, you get a disqualification. So it's, you have to be going fast. So it's a challenge to get your tires up to speed, and up to temp, lots of weaving, but going fast. And then you have that next lap. It's not even 2 laps. It's that out lap and then go a single lap to set your time. If you make a mistake, there's no second chances. 1 lap to set your best time.
No pressure.
Ooh.
No pressure.
No
No,
pressure.
yeah.
So, how does one Nick Barbato perform under pressure of one lap?
I love it. I felt the heart rate go up a little bit. I took my deep breaths and a little bit of butterflies, and that's the zone I live in. So went out there. The other thing too is I felt this was an opportunity to let's say maybe not having the fastest car to make a difference with my driving, an opportunity to make a bigger difference than what would normally be over a race distance, so over a longer qualifying session where whoop-de-doo, if you make a mistake, you have another lap to fix it. This is execute. This is have a plan, hit your marks, do it under pressure. And so a lot of my experience with sim racing and time trial, time attack is right there. And it also was a test of, again, your ability to get the car ready, right? To get the tires up, right? And yourself. So I went out and I felt I had a P2 or 3 was on the table because I felt someone might make a mistake. Particularly, let's say maybe you have a faster car and maybe you're thinking you can afford to take less risk because maybe you have some margin to the slower cars behind you, right? So that's playing in your head, right?
Yep.
It almost be like, right, a drag racer who knows they have a couple tenths of a second against the guy they're racing. So maybe they sleep on the drag racing tree a little bit, but that ends up coming back to bite you because the other person, puts in their hottest tune and they can take more risk and they hit the light and then all of a sudden you get hole shotted or something, right? So it's that kind of thing. You can tell I'm getting animated talking about this because I love it. It's like, in my opinion, like one of the most challenging. It's the best, one of the best opportunities in grid life to shine as a driver and make the difference if you're maybe on the back foot. So
yep,
I went out there and I did it. I hit all my marks except for one. I braked super late off the 4th gear rev limiter into 1. Hit my nice trail brake, hit the low curb, 1, 2, 3, 4. I did just miss my turn in for turn 4, which is a high speed left-hander over a bump. I still got just a small amount of the bump, but I did get just a tick of understeer because I got into the marbles. Just a tick. It wasn't bad, but I lost.
There's our first time blaming the drift guys. Okay.
It was my fault.
Okay.
But the rest of the lap came together. Perfect. Hit all my marks. Took some calculated risks. And the high speed right in the back sector there. Super late on the brakes again, and just absolutely nailed that last sector, which was the strength of my car. Got a nice, clean, tidy exit right to the exit of the strip. And if you saw on the video, what a lot of guys didn't do, which I was surprised, but this is another little trick, right? I didn't drive my normal line to the start finish line at the exit of the final corner to set up for turn 1, right? That's wasted distance. I drove right on the marbles to driver's left, a straight shot right to the flag, and that buys you a 1/2 on the data. So, I tried to pull out all my little tricks, and sure enough, I shot at the time right to the top of the time sheets, 1.2 seconds faster than I think the prior 5 or 6 drivers that had already gone.
Right.
And was super stoked for that. I set my personal best lap time at a 42.6, which is my car was flying. You'll see by the end of the weekend. If you took even my best 3 sectors all weekend, even in the slipstream behind the faster cars, my theoretical optimum was only a 42.3. So that gives you an idea of just how good that lap was. So that ended up holding for a strong P3, 0.08 behind the flying Eric Magnuson. who got a very strong P2, and then of course Mr. Katil out there in no man's land in the high 40s.
What's with
But
these
yeah.
Erics? What's going on with these Erics?
Wow.
God,
But no,
sure.
I was very stoked, very excited. Actually, I got out of the car because what's cool is right when the session ends, they send you right to impound a quick weight scale in and out, and then we get released right back to paddock. And so I just opened up my smartphone and was able to watch the live stream.
Right.
And I was able to watch Eric. I watched Matan Rosenberg live, and he only did a lap in the 43s.
Mhm.
I watched Eric live. He did a great lap, and then of course Eric. So I saw live. I was able to get P3, so I was kind of in the paddock screaming for joy,
Yeah.
because that was kind of one of my first. I had some moments last year at Lime Rock, but one of my first big moments in this series, and sort of like validating some setup changes I made from the morning and validating the hard work over the offseason to make the car faster. So I was excited about that. That was the highlight of my weekend.
Yeah, if anybody wants to tune in earlier in this episode, we taped the winter festivities for your car before the CMP. So it's fine. We just dress the same. It's good. So yeah, there's that. So is this the one? This is the one, isn't it?
This is the one you're talking about, the race.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Uh-oh.
so race 3 starting in
Third place.
P3, right? Because it was by the so P3 got a chance. There's this thing called a podium. It's not only a top 3 in the race, it's also a piece of software we just had an earlier podcast on, but that's a different story. So passing's at a premium, both to do it and to have it done to you. So starting in 3 gives you 2 people ahead and a whole bunch of people behind, which is cool. One of the people ahead of you has demonstrated class leading performance. So I think in my mind, at least, was, well, we're not going to touch Mr. Katil this weekend. And, but you got you're in the fight with part P2. So how'd the race go?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Depending on how things went right at the start, it
Yep.
could have been a P2. I think realistic pace of the car fundamentally on raw pace was P4, but there was a P2 depending on how things shaked out with track position.
Yeah.
And so how'd that go? So race start of 3 started P3 on the inside behind Katil on the inside, Magnussen on outside pole, Baton Rosenberg P4 to my right. And so got a great launch behind Katil, went into the brakes right behind him, tucked in nice and close. But being constrained down the inside, Katil did sort of balked me a little bit as expected. It's not like he did anything wrong, right? But you're on the inside, you have to maintain position, not have contact. So unfortunately, as I would have done, Matan Rosenberg claimed the outside position right behind Magnussen, and now he's basically on the inside right next to me, exiting P1, which is, for the viewers that don't know, it's like a little left-right kink. And of course, now, right, my apex speed is probably 4 or 5 mile an hour or less. That puts me outside of my power band. And so just a little bit of a nerf. And of course, Matan having a V8 who makes power like off idle, was able to put the power down and bark. And, I had no choice. Basically, I was at his bumper by turn in for turn 3, had to concede the position. So, yeah,
Yep.
that was P4 after turn 4.
And then I think that's how it ended, right?
That's basically how it ended. Again, it was another story. I was doing a rubber banding on Matan and Eric. I definitely was faster than them in the third sector. They would gap me a bit in sector 2 in the run down past the kink, because they were, I think, trapping 6 to 8 mile an hour quicker than me. But I was able to eat them up under brakes and was all over them. And actually, they had a little bit of a battle because Eric would sometimes defend against Matan, right, which would slow their collective pace through a corner. And so, if they did, catch a small gap with a few tenths, I would catch right back up and basically finished right on their bumpers. If they made a mistake under braking, I had a shot to take a P3, but they both, both great drivers had a good battle. I was the in-car cameraman for that battle for the whole race, and yeah, finished a strong P4 behind them. And I think we gapped the next person. It was kind of like we were all in our own little realm of speed up there, and then there was the rest of the pack. I think 5 or 6 seconds behind or something.
Yeah, there was the three of you, and there was this Katil guy that was somewhere else. He was
out in his own zip code.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to go see this race myself." So, all right, so that's great, right? Fourth place, nice, getting there, getting close, awesome. Can't get any better. Going into the last race, there's nothing in your way, man.
Oh man, so we'll just get right to it. So, I will preface this first by saying, so at the end of race 2, I had a misfire right in the car, audible misfire. And it didn't seem to really affect performance at the time. Felt like maybe I lost a little bit of mid range, but the top end felt strong. I had a check engine light, so got on the laptop, scanned it after the race, and I lost my Bank 102 sensor. So long story short, for a technical explanation, there's two O2 sensors for cylinders. There's one for cylinder 1, 2, 3. Another one for cylinder 4 through 6. That sets the base fuel trims for which the rest of the open loop tuning will set the injector duty cycle from. So depending on whether it's reading richer or leaner, it will affect your wide open throttle tune, richer or leaner, depending on what those sensors read. So if you lose one sensor, what happens? Well, then the other sensor continues reading, but it says, oh shit, that sensor doesn't work anymore. We're going to make an estimation of what we think those cylinders are doing and then adjust fuel trim accordingly. So you can go richer or leaner, variably in the power band, by the way. So you might go richer in the mid range, leaner in the top band. All that's subject to how the tuning tables are set by the tuner. And so unfortunately, what that meant is when I went over post-race dyno, I popped 2 horsepower over on the top end. I was able to take a quick look and compared to my butt dyno, and I actually did see some power dip in the mid range. So actually, I did lose power in the mid range, but unfortunately, just going a little bit leaner with the same timing table, it just peaked a couple more horsepower over, even being overweight. So unfortunately, I got a 10-spot grid penalty for that finish, which also nerfed my starting position for race 4. So yeah, that was
just crazy having you just explain that whole thing out. That's nuts. How did you do? How'd you learn all that?
Well,
doesn't race with us.
Knowledge and experience, so for those of you that don't know, and you may not know, I mean, I've been tuning engines since the early mid 2000s. My first engine tune was using what's called a piggyback fuel controller, which, to make a long story short, it intercepts the mass airflow signal. I had a 1990 Eagle Talon turbo all-wheel drive.
By choice?
Oh yeah, great choice at the time. And so, hey, Mrs. Barbato says that's the favorite car I've ever owned. It's a 1990 Talon turbo. Man, I love that thing too. So soft spot in my heart for the DSMs. And
okay, all right. I mean, you did a good choice on her. I'm not sure about your car choice right now.
You son of a gun. Yeah, I have experience tuning. In that instance, you're modifying the mass airflow signal at RPM and throttle increments so that you are basically tricking the computer into thinking there's more or less airflow coming in. Therefore, it adds more or less fuel, or may take out advance or retard spark timing. For timing, in general, if you advance spark timing, you make more horsepower, but more likelihood of knock and detonation. So that's the trade-off. Same thing with fuel. If you take out more fuel, you run leaner. That tends to make more power, but you increase likelihood of going lean and burning pistons, or increasing likelihood of knocking detonation. So it's like a little balance between timing advance and leaning out fuel. And so with the Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Question. Go
No,
ahead.
I'm just
She's
sitting here
just making
thinking,
faces.
no, I think I understood about 65% of what you just said.
Okay.
So that was a
Okay.
good thing. That was a good
Okay.
thing.
She's gonna listen.
Okay.
She's gonna listen again now. She's gonna get up to 70%, no
Yeah, I
doubt.
think I may listen to this podcast.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. If would you like me to go back over that or say something again before I
No,
continue?
no, no. That was fascinating. That was just really fascinating. You just did all that. So,
Oh, yeah, it's great. So I'll say a couple things more simply then. There are some great YouTube resources, like the HP Academy, or HPA Academy. Actually, there's a show called Engine Masters on Motor
Hmm.
Trend. It's great.
okay.
So all these are actually just they're the basics of tuning, right? You want to just tune for an optimal air fuel ratio and an optimal amount of spark timing advance. And that is basically all you need to know for any engine known to man. There's little details with how you deliver fuel and how you control spark and whether you're carbureted or fuel injected and all that shit. But it's just basic thermodynamics. It's chemistry, and you're just optimizing the air fuel mixture and the spark timing for the engine. It's all the same. It's just how you tweak that recipe for the engine. It's the same fundamental tuning strategy regardless of the engine. So
Does
yeah.
does every grid life person or every person with their cars in there do this to their cars?
No, no, no. They will pay a tuner to
Okay.
optimize it for themselves. And so I'll actually even say, even though I know how to do this, I pay a tuner. Again, he's a partner, so I get hooked up a little bit. Shout out to Randy Mueller at Epic Tuning down in Florida. Awesome guy. He also joined me as a partner this year.
Future
Much
podcast
appreciated.
guest.
Love and support. Yeah, another awesome guy. He is super intelligent, super sharp, particularly with the BMW, what they call the MS41 DMA. It's the tuning protocol for the OBD2 cars, and maybe some OBD1 cars. But yeah, he's a master. He uses a software he helped to develop to optimize and check and do a whole bunch of really cool stuff with all the actually for the era, pretty impressive tuning capability for what BMW offers for that era. But yeah, so even though let's say I could tune, I could learn how to do the nuanced BMW stuff. That stuff is outsourced to Randy. He has so much experience. He will save time. He will do it properly with margin and reliability. I don't have the time to relearn how to tune BMWs. I just know the basics. I have good conversations with Randy about what I'm looking for. We log air fuel ratio on the wideband. He's watching live spark timing, knock all the different variables, and he sends me a tune and we upload it. And basically it's like a rinse and repeat on the dyno to optimize the curve. So anyone at the front who's competing in the top 20 is doing that, whether or not they're doing it themselves. Like, for example, I saw a guy like Tony Marchev, also another very quick driver. He's there tuning himself because he's a good tuner. I assume, uses Honda data for his Honda S2000. But there's a bunch of other guys that do remote tuning as well. Mr. Katil and everyone else are all doing tuning either themselves or remotely with a tuner. I would say to have a shot at a win, you have to be doing that in some capacity in GLTC.
You know, Miss
Mm-hmm.
Vicki,
Yes.
we have a membership to the HP Academy to any of the courses that you wish to
That's awesome.
to take. But anyway.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so while we're going through the story of how the O2 sensor changed you lean, which didn't put you over by like 1 point something
Yeah, it was
horsepower,
it
let's
was like
let's fully
1.6.
let's fully kick you in the teeth and give you the let's go with and what did that do, sir?
Yeah, so what that did was disqualify me 10 positions on the finishing position. And because that sets the grid for race four, so my real finishing position was B4. That means I got a technical infraction pseudo DQ to P14, and then I started P14 in the fourth race because the fourth race is gridded by your finishing position in the third race.
Hmm.
Um, Also, unfortunately, which is a big bummer.
Yep.
Not that I think actually, considering the pace of the car this year, we'll see if there are any BOP changes mid-season, but I don't think I would be in the hunt for a season championship anyway, but you never know what's going to happen. But unfortunately, whatever hopes I did have of a season championship, it's definitely put me on the back foot now because how the rules work is if you have any finishing results where any sort of technical infraction or, like a mid DQ or full DSQ, that stays as one of your points paying races. So I can't drop
Oh,
that race. That's a big bummer. Yeah, that's a big bummer. So I have a permanent P14 now. Yes, a permanent P14 stamped as one of my 14 points paying races towards the season point championship total. So that's a bummer.
mhm.
But I can't change.
And then there's more
And
bummer.
then there's more bummers. So then started P14 in the final race. And then that put me. So I had a great race, passed 4 cars and got
Nope,
a
nope, nope, nope,
benefit of
nope.
a.
You forgot the bummer.
Oh, what's the bummer? What's
The invert for the fourth race.
oh God, yeah.
Uh-oh.
I think that was so upsetting and traumatic that I had blocked it out of my
Well,
memory.
allow me
Um,
to bring that to your
Go
attention,
ahead.
sir.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So what they do is they take the top racing order and then they roll a dice, and I can't remember if it's like 12 places or 15 places or whatever. So it's a random dice roll, and they invert whatever the dice roll is. And care to guess what the dice number that came up was?
It was the fourth place.
Fourth place. So without the penalty, our
I was
boy,
starting on
Mr.
pole position.
Barbato, would have been starting on pole. All
Yeah.
for the lack of an O2 sensor.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's I did it. I called every hardware store in an hour radius.
But you didn't call the Garage
I
Heroes and
didn't.
Training Network.
I didn't. I don't know why. I don't know why.
We know
Why
people
didn't?
down there.
I'm not gonna make that mistake again. Oh boy, yeah, that was heartbreaking. Because look, in retrospect, if I got through turn one clean, which I have no problem saying I would have taken a massive risk on the brakes into turn one, and if I kind of missed my braking point, that's okay because I would have made it to the apex first. And if I kind of went a little wide with Matan, I was going to take that risk because he would be a good enough driver to handle that. And I was going to do everything I can just to get to turn three in the lead. And if I had a shot just getting out of the back stretch in P1, I probably would have had enough to hold off Matan. Um,
I'm
uh,
thinking second was where you would have been,
yeah, yeah,
realistically.
yeah. Either first or second, because I would not have had the pace to hold back Katil, but Katil was starting fourth.
Yep. Oh, I know.
So so
Mm-hmm.
so if Katil got held up behind Matan and Eric,
Yeah.
which they certainly would have defended the shit out of that,
Yep.
that would have been the only shot I really had at holding on to P1. So
Hmm.
that's really what it could have been. Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
I mean, realistically, though, I was not expecting to hold on to the win. Just do everything I could to defend. Certainly, there was a chance to get a strong podium. Ultimately, I would not have been upset with even just still holding on to a P4. That still would have been great. Just again, knowing how fast those guys were there. But yeah, no, that was a major bummer. Probably would have led to my highest ever finish in the series to date.
Ooh.
So,
Yep.
anyway, yeah.
So now that your teeth are back in,
Ah,
you passed a bunch of people. You showed some wiggle, some passing. It was nice to see.
Yes, sir.
How'd the race go?
Oh, it was awesome. Right, full attack mode right from the first lap. Passed the car, got a run out of turn two, got next to a really quick and well driven, but obviously underprepared E30. Shout out to that driver, awesome build. Went around the outside of him, went too wide basically through turn three, four, five. He held his line super well. Got a little run on him into the back corner. I forget which corner is that high speed right. You enter fifth gear, fourth gear, you take some curb. It's like just after the sector two start. Anyway, turned, I don't know, it's one, two, three, four,
Five,
I guess
six.
turn six.
I think it's
High
6 or
speed right
7.
hander.
I can't remember.
Yeah. So anyway, that corner, I was able to get just enough of a run on him to enter that corner clean. Then got a run onto the car behind, which was again, credit, a very well driven Subaru WRX STI. Again, I actually don't know the driver of that name, but I was behind him in practice, and that dude was wheeling that thing. Certainly not an ideal car for GLTC, but if you happen to, I'm sure that guy happens to be listening to the podcast. Big respect to you. You were driving the absolute shit out of that car. I took a very nice inside super late break to dive in after the kink. Boom, right there in the brakes. Boom. That was the second position. And then I think I got by another car somewhat non-dramatically, and then ran down Thomas Lathrop, who did a very strong running in one of the Condor Speed Shop cars. Had a 1.5 laps battle with him. Was quicker in a couple corners. He had some good straight line speed. Got next to him exiting turn 6 again. We went too wide into the kink. He did a great job. Stayed basically flat on the outside of the kink. I kind of backed off a little bit because I don't want to go launching through the air and
Yeah.
have contact. But was basically entered the braking zone with him at his bumper. Braked a bit later. Went too wide to the left-hander there. Did a little sort of crossover over under. Got a run on him into the final corner. Got by him into the final corner. And then next lap, Magnuson broke, and then it was like a 1 lap shootout to try to overtake, I think, Kyle Hale in that wide body E46. I'm sorry, not Kyle Hale. It was that guy in the Lexus, really, really good driver in a Lexus, and was all over him, attacking him. I was a bit quicker. Kind of tried to cross him up going into the last corner, last lap. And actually, Peter Zhang, who started out of position as well, sort of over-undered me as I was over-undering this Lexus, and actually got next to me last corner, last lap. I don't think it got caught on video, unfortunately.
No, it didn't.
But we had this like last of the late breakers duel in the final corner. Peter Zhang took a big shot at me, but I braked even later than him just to hold my outside line. We kind of went side by side. I think at the line, I was maybe a half a car behind the Lexus, and Zhang was like at my door and held on for a strong P9. So yeah, really, really nice racecraft battle, intense competition to take a well-earned P9 for the final race.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds like a hell of a weekend.
It was a blast. I really could not be happier. I had a ton of fun. I felt like I got 100% out of my car for the package I brought. Maybe a certain point of consolation, but was the fastest BMW there that didn't have an LS in it. And that still outperformed a lot of the LS cars. I think the top 10 were all, LS V8s, aside from me and Katil. Even looking at some of the other benchmarks, some long established, very fast drivers that have taken sprint wins with E36 and E46, E90, E92 BMWs, Mr. Cathers included, was the fastest of the Beamers. So definitely, I was more than happy. Let's see how the rest of the season goes. We'll see if BOP changes occur for maybe the sub 200 Hondas. We'll see how that goes. Either way, if that doesn't happen, I still feel very optimistic about Lime Rock. Mr. Katil, no matter what happens, is going to be carrying some not insignificant rewards away going into Lime Rock. My car is optimizing just what my car can do, is optimized fully for Lime Rock, and it's going to continue to get optimized. I have at least like 2 more test sessions to try different things between now and then. That's kind of my like NASA championships race.
Right.
So I think for sure it will be a podium unless something happens, and maybe a shot at the win. Let's see. Eric's going to be very fast there. There will be some other guys that are going to be in the sub 200 horsepower category that are going to be very fast as well. But all I can control is what I can control
Yep.
on my own, right? And I know I got 100% out of my platform for what I brought. I didn't bring a fully optimized platform because I definitely have some things that I could improve with my setup. Some things are I maybe went in the wrong direction, which I won't elaborate on unless you really want me to. But some other things, some other mechanical issues I can fix, and some spring and bar optimization in particular, as well as some continued power improvement, which is all going to add up to some really good time at Lime Rock. And we're already ridiculously fast there in testing, which I won't give away the ship completely
I've
right now.
I've heard some
Yeah,
some summaries.
some extremely fast laps there, and it's only going to get faster. So,
Okay.
win, lose, or draw at Lime Rock, it's going to be an epic battle, I believe.
Well, even with the O2 sensor issue, you had 4 top 10s. So you ended up the weekend, what, 7, 8, or
Yeah, there or thereabouts.
somewhere in there?
Yep. And if it wasn't for those issues, for sure would have been P4 overall. And
Yeah.
actually, which I don't count it because I don't want to gain a position that way. But actually, with Eric Magnuson having that DNF because his fuel pump failed, it actually
Right.
would have been a P3 overall podium.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah.
very, very happy.
Yeah. What woulda, couldas in racing. We could
Exactly.
yeah. So we count what we got.
Exactly.
You are what the scoreboard says you are.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So
But
Miss
yeah,
Vic,
no, so go ahead, go ahead.
no, Miss Vicky, we have no excuses. We drive almost the same car. Why do we suck so bad?
Why? We have yet to get that car running right.
Yeah, there's that.
That's why we suck.
There's that. Well, that's one of the reasons. But we'll get there. We'll get there. We still owe him a race
Yes.
with that car, by
Yes,
the
we
way.
do.
So we'll get you, Nick. Don't worry. So my last question, I don't know if Miss Vicky's on her last question, but my last question is, so now that you're married to a internet movie star who appears in the Grid Life show on Saturday morning, I believe, is she having any upcoming signings in the area? Is there some place we could send people to go get signatures and, maybe inscribe, whatever.
Yeah. You can. So I am her acting manager
Okay,
now,
yeah,
of
yeah,
course, because there's just been so many
yeah,
requests, it's too much to handle, and there's some
yeah,
weirdos out there. So
yeah. You got to
I'm sure,
shield it. It's
I'm
your
sure
job.
you're kind of the same thing with Miss Vicky, right? You
It's a tough
yeah,
life, but
that's
so
that's right.
far nobody's made it through.
So yeah. We're gonna set up some signings, hopefully at the next event.
There you
There'll
go.
be a there'll be a booth. Yeah,
Maybe some baseball cards or something.
I think so. I
Make it
think so.
official. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Miss Vicky, he's kicking some
Hmm.
butt, taking some names. He's an
He
O2 sensor away
honestly
from the podium,
is.
maybe
That's right.
plus or minus. So
Where's your next race at again?
Mid Ohio in June. Mid Ohio in June.
Ohio.
We're stoked.
the
Super stoked.
repave. Have you driven the repave?
Unless they repave it last year because I
No.
did do a session at Mid O last year, so I have
Yep.
experience.
Okay. So
Okay,
that
good.
is post repave. So
Yep,
okay.
yep.
Um, we can talk about Mid Ohio offline because
Okay,
we've got a few laps there, here or there.
okay. Hell yeah,
They're
hell
much slower than what you're aiming at, but at least I know how to
yeah.
do it. Whether I can do it is a whole different story, but that's fine. Awesome. Well, I'm glad we were able to get together before the season started, just as we had planned, and we caught up again for this part two, and it's awesome having fun, and you definitely made a otherwise terrible weekend much better for me. So thank you, and it was great watching you out there, sir.
Oh, thank you again, very sincerely for the kindness and the love and support, and rocking those Garage Heroes and Training stickers on my car for a
That's
reason.
that's true. And if you need any more with the delivery, just let us know. We know a guy who's got a few. Because
Absolutely.
when you put in order 1,000 and you slip and hit an extra zero, you have lots of them. Whoops. I'm like, wow, that seems expensive, but whatever. I was in a hurry. I just paid for it. I'm like, all of
That's
a
why
sudden
you
this
gave me so many. Okay,
this
yeah,
this big
that's fine.
box comes in. I'm like, holy cow, what the hell is that? Oh, oh, oh. Anyway, garageheroesandtraining@gmail.com. So that'll be fun. And let us know. We may have to do this after each race to get a debrief. So
That'd be awesome.
that would be great. I love helping you out, love helping the series out. Not that the series needs any of our help, but they seem to be doing just fine. So closest thing to pro that an amateur racing series is, as far as I know.
I agree.
So
I agree with that.
good luck. Hopefully, no big issues. You can't really afford any. 14 out of 16. So
That's true.
that would be I think the biggest thing you need is no more mechanicals.
No, yeah, we're gonna make smart decisions. We're gonna make the car faster for sure, and we're gonna do the best we can, and let's see what happens.
It
Looking
is.
forward to an awesome season either way, with some
Yeah.
awesome battles up and down the field. Hell yeah.
For sure. We'll definitely see you at Lime Rock with Grid Life, and we may see you at some NASA Northeast events. We have to somehow figure out what our schedule is. Miss Vicky's been unavailable for consultation for a while, so someday I'll have a schedule. I know I should.
You talk to her manager.
He's a jerk, man. He doesn't get anything done. He's just a slacker. So, thank you for coming on, sir. Twice. You came on twice for this. I can't believe that. That was terrible. I mean, great. I mean, I don't know. Whatever.
I owe you guys. So
No worries.
much appreciated, and thank you so much for having me on again.
No problem. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks.